was christened in this. Looks remarkably well, despite it. It'll be hot inside.
Ever since Prince Harry was born in 1984, the children of Prince Charles and Princess Diana have had a strong bond.
When Harry was born, I think William embraced it. He loved his little brother. I remember him taking great pride in being there with his little brother and having someone to play with.
Prince William led the way down the long corridors to the chapel.
It was a lonely world before Harry came along.
Prince Harry dozed, behaving impeccably.
Harry really complimented the Wales household.
Mother knelt on the carpet to show the baby to the children, but by now a tearful Prince Harry had had enough. Prince William, on the other hand, still had a fair amount of energy left.
Those who looked after the young princes saw their different characters emerge from an early age.
Playtime in the royal nursery was always William in charge and Harry told what to do. Since the early days, William has always been the general and Harry the foot soldier.
In their imaginations, the children were already off to a fire.
Harry was a bit of a rebel when he was a little boy and would goad William on. William was always, I think, trying to be the good boy. He was always trying to be the one that would tell tales on his little brother. But, you know, Harry used to be quite a handful.
They were always dressed up as paratroopers or in combat uniforms. They had great fun visiting the army and going on board Britannia. They loved all of that camaraderie with lots of people. They're very gregarious boys.
You saw them always together, and often together with their mum. They were obviously firm friends, but like all siblings, probably had their moments when they were firm enemies.
Brothers fight, don't they, all the time? I think William might have been cross that Harry was freer than him and he could do a bit more what he liked, and Harry was cross that William got privileges.
In many ways, the princes' relationship as children was like other brothers across the country. But there was one crucial difference.
Harry always knew that his brother was destined to be king. In fact, one day in the nursery, they had a huge row. And William stamped his feet and said, "I don't want to be king." And Harry said, "Well, if you don't do it, then I'll do it instead of you." His mother thought that was very amusing. She said, "That's a good idea, Harry. You make a great king."
You know, she used to refer to Harry as GKH, Good King Harry, because she thought he'd be probably better equipped for the role in the future than William.
William always got preferential treatment because he was the heir to the heir, and Diana made it always very clear that she wanted the two boys to be treated equally.
While Princess Diana tried to make sure there was no preferential treatment between her boys, some say other members of the royal family were not always so sensitive.
When they would go to see the Queen Mother at Clarence's house, the best sandwiches and the chocolatiest biscuits were always kept aside and offered first to William, and Harry would have to wait. And Diana was aware of this, and I think that was why she always made a point of petting Harry, of just giving him that little bit of extra attention, because Harry knew that William was the #1 son.
But William and Harry's parents had difficulties of their own.
By the time the boys were old enough to kind of get a feeling of what was going on, the household was pretty fraught between Charles and Diana.
They would have heard raised voices. Children are very acutely aware of atmospheres. It would have been crazy if they hadn't guessed there were difficulties and Daddy was away a lot and then Mummy was not. They would have known that. They would have sensed that.
Every effort was made particularly to protect Harry from the problems in his parents' marriage. William, obviously being that much older, was more aware of the arguments.
Harry and William were thrown together to protect each other and look out for each other. Certainly William, I think, felt very protective towards Harry.
I saw the boys grow up and their bond was very tight. It was held together, of course, by the glue of their mother. Diana never treated one differently to the other. They were always the same. They were her boys.
In 1997, disaster struck the Wales household when Princess Diana died in a car crash. William was 15 and Harry 12.
The two princes, whose heart cannot go out to those boys today? Who can avoid a choke in the throat at the sight of them? They began the week as boys, they've ended it as men. We've seen them almost visibly mature in front of our eyes.
When the princess died, we as a nation watched their hearts break. And William and Harry were never the same again.
Courage of these two boys.
For everybody in the UK, those images are kind of burned on the national consciousness.
One of the reasons that many people mourned Diana, apart from just the tragedy of her death itself, was that these boys were going to lose something huge at a very important stage of their lives.
The two princes bonded over the death of their mother, turning to each other for support.
I think without any doubt that would have brought the brothers together because they both understood. And also boys at that time, and probably still, embarrassed about showing emotion, but they could to one another.
No one could understand, apart from them, what they had been through. They lost their mum at a very early age.
I think the army was really the making of Harry. He made it his thing, and he was incredibly good at it.
Going into the army was an escape, and of course, for the first time, he could just be kept in Wales. And I think he rather loved that, but he sort of needed that to, as it were, grow up and grow into who he wanted to be.
He became a hero overnight. I remember one documentary where he was talking to a reporter.
Maps all over the place, digimaps.
And suddenly they got the call to go somewhere, and off he went. And you think, oh, wow, he's actually kind of on it.
William followed his younger brother into the military, but their experiences would be very different.
William was perceived as a future king and an officer, and Harry, as in childhood, was always perceived as a soldier. And so the two followed very different paths.
When Harry came back from Afghanistan, the two brothers were reunited when they began helicopter training at the same time. They shared a house for 6 months and gave the odd interview to the press.
Yeah, so I remember.
Together?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, your brothers. Yeah. Brothers, not lovers. Right? There's a difference.
In the interview, you get nice digs where Harry has a go at William for losing his hair, although he's lost a lot more since then.
He's definitely got more brains than me. I think we've established that from school. But when it comes to all that, I think I'm much better hands-on.
And when you find so?
Baldness. Sorry?
William has a go at Harry for being ginger, and they're just nice little digs that happen in all families.
Did you just ever dig at his baldness?
He's
what, sorry?
Baldness. He's pretty rich coming from a ginger, so I'm quite happy to tell him on the spot.
In the royal family, there's always a banter about which service is the best.
How much inter-service rivalry is there between you two?
None at all.
No, not at all, really.
I mean, everyone knows the army's better than
I'm
the
a cavalry boy anyway, so it's fine. There's good bands between army pilots and our pilots, obviously, as well. And the naval pilots just, in the background, they didn't do anything, so it's fine.
William, at this stage, is training to become a Sea King pilot for search and rescue. Harry is upgrading to Apache training.
The helicopter course is a very strenuous course, but he's managed to get through it, so I reckon I can.
Yeah, I just said something nice. You can say something nice.
He's great.
And it's the last time they lived together. They lived together in a farmhouse.
First and last time we'll be living together.
It's been a fairly emotional experience.
So there is that kind of ribbing, jesting that I think is a real kind of cornerstone of their relationship.
Bearing in mind I cook him and feed him basically every day, I think he's done rather well.
You told us the other week that he did all the washing up.
He does do a bit of the washing up, then he leaves most of it in the sink and then it comes back in the morning and I have to wash it up.
Oh, the lies.
Yeah, he snores a lot as well, keeps me out all night long. Not good
I
for
think
him.
we're showing a bed practice.
No, I think that's very important we say that.
While William went on to an admirable career as a search and rescue pilot, he was increasingly focused on royal duties and his home life.